Okay, we're excited, Keith, about this, the next right thing for today, because everybody's getting prepared for a new school year, Adam. They're getting ready, buying their school supplies, getting their plan in place for a brand new year. I love this time of year. And when I was in religious education, Adam, I used to talk about this all the time with the parents. I would ask them, did you prepare a spiritual survival kit for your kids? And they would look at me kind of puzzled. Spiritual survival kit. And they would say, Miss Deb, what is a spiritual survival kit? And I would say, well, it's packed with all the things that you think that your children, whether they are elementary school, junior high, high school, or going off to college especially. Okay, that's the big one, because we know that when they get to the college campuses, they can sometimes fall in their spiritual routines and their belief systems and all sorts of stuff on the college campuses, because they're exposed to so much,
Sure.
right? So are you preparing and packing a spiritual survival kit? You pack their lunch, you pack their backpacks, probably you pack their briefcases, their purses, their luggage, everything, the boxes to go to college, whatever. Prepare a survival kit of spiritual items and resources that at any time your children can tap into when they need it most. And what I used to suggest, Adam, depending on the age of the child or the young adult, is obviously sacramentals. So holy water, a blessed rosary, some prayer cards, some short reading material. Not don't. I love parents. Sometimes they'll say, "I packed like 5 big books for
Right.
They're in school. They're going to be reading all the time. So give them short little snippets of things. Maybe if they listen to music, something of that nature, like a download or something, or a CD. But pack this kit and present it to your child or your young adult and say, this is my gift to you. When you are away from me, your parent, if you ever feel lost, if you ever feel like you're not sure what to choose next, you know how parents always say, make good choices, right? If you're unsure, tap into this kit and you will find the resources, the tools, the truth. You will find those things in this kit that will help you. And then present it to them in a beautifully packaged, however you want to do it. I know some parents that they put it in a beautiful box, like a very, very expensive box, and they have everything in there. And I will tell you, Adam, over the years, and I've been doing religious formation since 1989, there are, I would probably say, half a dozen to a dozen college students that I know that have now gone on to raise families, and they're married and they're raising their families of their own, that they will come back and they have said to me, you know, my parent packed that survival kit that you were talking about all these years, and I never looked into it. I never opened it until one day I was at my lowest and I opened it. What do you think of that idea?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. It would have been nice to have something like that in college myself.
Me too.
It wasn't something that was thought of. But, I mean, for me, like, you know, people talk about EDC, everyday carry, when people that are into, you know, prepper stuff. My everyday carry right now is, you know, this rugged rosary. It's one of these kind of steel beads and paracords, so I don't worry about it getting broken. That's been really helpful over recent years, to always have that. It's kind of my version of that kit that you talk about. You know, when I'm struggling or somebody says, you know, I need some prayer, that's always in my pocket. And as I'm walking, I'm usually holding that and in the background praying one of those beads, even when I'm walking with people or talking with them. having a place to go that is physical and grounds you in the physicality of it can be really powerful, because when we're struggling to get our mind off of, maybe there's a bad choice that you're going to make for the umpteenth time and you've regretted it before, but you're feeling overwhelmed and you're going to do it again. It can be hard to just with your willpower to say like, okay, I'm going to think about Jesus and be positive. In the midst of all that stimulation of the world and the circumstances, it can be hard. But when there's physicality, there's a power in that, especially when things are blessed, when things are sacramentals, as you said. Like, I imagine having an icon, even a small one, a little one that could fit on a small shelf of the person's patron saint, could be a really powerful thing, a blessed icon. Because icons, the theology of them is they're a window to the figure that they portray.
That's right.
So they're an avenue of grace. And the power of having physical things around you is, as your gaze falls across them and they enter your field of vision, they enter your mind. It's something positive feeding into you and your mind. And when you're holding something in your hand, that's a physicality. You're grounded. It's real. It's not just an abstract idea. Particularly when they're blessed, it has an extra dimension to it of grace in things like holy water. Scripture, of course. I think no spiritual survival kit could be complete without a small copy of the Bible. Even if you did something, if it was really tiny and you said, okay, we're going to do one of those little Psalms in New Testament, which some Catholic places will print. So it's maybe not as big as a full Bible. But something, with Scripture would be great. And here's a neat thing that when we were young, it wasn't available, but that would be on your phone. You can have the entire Bible in audio.
That's right.
So I had a couple years where there was a particular Catholic version of a dramatized Bible that then Pope Ratzinger really endorsed. And I got that on my phone, and as I would travel, I would just let the Bible play from beginning to end. And it was very easy, and it ended up being very powerful about unlocking some understandings that I didn't have before, because I just let the stories wash over me as I was driving or doing things. And because I wasn't reading it as a few verses and stopping, you would see patterns and connections as you just let the whole story wash over you, and even book to book, that I started seeing connections I had never seen before. So there's some really neat ways that you could do this almost in the phone entirely. You could have an image of the patron saint as the background on the phone. You could have the Bible on there. You could have a rosary on there that you could listen to as you're learning to pray the rosary. But I would say, in terms of a minimum, I would have a rosary in your pocket. Right. Just day to day to carry with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to talk more about this spiritual survival kit. We're going to get very creative with it. We're going to have more ideas and suggestions depending on the age level of your child. If your child's still in elementary school or high school or going off to college. I want you to really to listen in on the second half of this, the next right thing, because this is where the creative side of this can really help your child during the situations that they are going to face at any level of their school year or at any time during their life. And what I mean by that is, as parents, Adam, we know what our children are going to encounter. We know that. They're going to face people who don't believe in Christianity, people who are going to challenge their faith, people who are going to have them do things that is not in line with what we know of God's commandments. Bullies on the playground, people doing all sorts of things, or encouraging your child to take a chance on something that is definitely against the family rules, when you set those down with your children. So we know the kinds of things our children are going to encounter. What you don't want to do is wait for them to encounter those things and then come to you afterwards and say, Mom, Dad, I messed up. What I think is very helpful is when you give them or paint or explore these scenarios, and let them be prepared. That's why I've always called it a survival kit. Let them be prepared because they're going to encounter these things. Whether your child's a young elementary school age all the way up to college age, it's very important. So we're going to go through some creative ideas that I've learned over the years in religious education that I have actually used with students, and it has proved to be very beneficial. And one of the things, Adam, that we want to talk about is when you're packing this kit, depending at making it age appropriate and that your children can understand it. But let's talk about the college age child, young adult, right now. When they go off to college, you can pretty much as a parent anticipate what they're going to encounter on the college campuses. So what you want to do is you want to prepare the kit for your child, for themselves, for your child to go into the kit to use for themselves, and also for their fellow students and their friends. So what do I mean by that? Oftentimes our kids are living on campus, and so they're in the dorms. They're having that communal living, and so they may have a dorm mate that is struggling with something. So they're going to be hesitant to give up any of these spiritual gifts that have been given by parents over to a friend. So what you might want to do is prepare a second item in there and actually put a note in saying, when your friend is in trouble, give them this prayer card. When your friend needs something, this is holy water for them, if they're Catholic or if they're open to it. So you see what I'm saying? So prepare a kit for your child, and prepare for your children to be able to give some things away, and instruct them in that kit so that gives them permission. Because typically by nature, people are hesitant to give away spiritual items. Okay? So that's the first thing. Number 2, put in personalized notes from both mom and dad or any grandparents or anything, given the situation that they're in. So you put in a note and a sealed envelope, and on the outside it says, only open this if you encounter this situation on the college campus. And then you put the situation, whatever it is. And then when your child opens up that envelope, they're going to have a personalized note from you whom they love and trust, and it's going to basically outline what they're going through and probably what they're dealing with. And you give them the recipe to get out of it, or at least the encouragement or the inspiration to be able to move past what they're going through. Obviously, they can call you. Obviously, they can get in contact with you. But I've seen it so many times, Adam, that when a child, even a young child, when they're encountering something like bullies in the schoolyard or something of that nature, they're so overwhelmed by the situation, they don't share it quickly with people they trust. They hold on to it for a little bit before they're ready to share it. So this way it gives them that precious time to go back to that spiritual survival kit, pull that note, read a note from mom or dad who loves them and says, okay, I can do this. I can get through this. And then they start to get the calm sets in, and they can maybe talk about it or whatever. So there's all these creative ideas. And I know that parents can really stretch and do some really wonderful things. I have seen, and I'm not joking about this, there was one parent in particular, I can see her right now if I close my eyes, and she prepared a survival kit for her young daughter that was going off to college. It was not a Catholic college, and so she was concerned about so many things that her child was going to face. And she prepared this kit in this beautiful, beautiful box, and it had to have been the size of bigger than a shoebox. So if you can picture that. And she packed it every square inch of this box. It was amazing, Adam. Honest to goodness, if I was on a desert island or I was stuck somewhere, this is the box I would have wanted to have with me. And I just want to encourage parents to be very creative, think outside the box, go online, research things, what works good for young children, what works good for college age. But what do you think about everything I'm sharing? I know I've got so much to share. I feel like I'm racing against the clock, but this is an important element, I think, that your children can take with them when they are out there. And remember, think about this. Most of their waking day, they're out there in the world. They're not under your care. They're not, you know what I'm saying? So we do want them properly prepared.
It's just amazing. I have not heard about these before, talking with you today about it, but it seems wonderful. It makes a lot of sense. I had a thought. Tell me if this might be on target or not. If you include notes for dealing with a particular circumstance, it seems to me it would be good to, instead of being preachy in the note and saying you shouldn't do this and here's why, but maybe people respond better to, I know what you're going through. I've encountered the same thing when I was at college. I made the mistake of doing this and I regretted it later. Trust me, go down this other path with this, or here's a good way to get out of this situation. Being a little bit open with them as opposed to just preachy and saying, here's the reason you need to conform, because they're in a phase of individuating from the parents if their teens are in college. But I think that they would be open at the same time to that. What do you think?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. You got to accompany them. You got to meet them where they're at. You've got to share from your own experience, especially when they're the college age, because they're dealing with adult situations. And the last thing you want to do is throw a Bible and hit them over the head with it, or demand a certain type of behavior from them. Really, really walk with them and share your own, and start to reveal your own situation that you've gone through when you were that age. Absolutely, Adam. You nailed it.
I had just one final thought, and then I was going to ask if people could write in and maybe give us their ideas. But I agree with you. I think it should be something beautiful and easy to pick up and easy to take with you as you move dorm to dorm, apartment to apartment, and put on the shelf and always have with you. For the girls, maybe something that fits their personality and is really pretty. For the guys, maybe something a little more rough and tumble, like even an ammo can or something. You converted into kind of a spiritual warfare theme, something that a guy could relate to. You could have fun with this, or something specific to that person. Like maybe they're a big hockey player, and you could do, a hockey theme to the box. Frame things in that way or something. So I think you could have fun with it. But if people have ideas, we'd like to hear them here. You could write us at morningjoy@grnonline.com. If you've done a spiritual survival kit, or maybe through this discussion you're thinking of doing one and you have some creative ideas, let us know, and maybe we could share those with people in the future.
That would be exciting. We could put it all over Facebook. That's a good use of social media. I love it, Adam. Thank you so much for this next right thing, and God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. For now, we're going to send it back to Keith for the rest of Morning Joy.